5 Live Formula One.
We have a new Formula One world champion. Lando Norris has won the 2025 Formula One World Championship, his first F1 title. And as you can imagine, the excitement here in the paddock is reaching new levels. I'm Rosanna Tennant and I'm joined by our lead commentator, Harry Benjamin, and the 1996 Formula One world champion, Damon Hill. There is so much to discuss. What a huge moment for Lando Norris, for Formula One. Damon, you know what it feels like to win a world title. What will Lando Norris be feeling right now? This is new territory.
Well, I should think he's feeling an enormous amount of relief because he knows that he doesn't have to have this thing hanging over him, which he's had, well, at least from halfway through the season. I'm sure he probably thought, even before the season started, that he was on course potentially for a world championship. But it all got away from him when Oscar Piastri overtook him and started to get away. And then he dug down and found something in himself and turned it round and took the fight back to Oscar. And then he had Max Verstappen. He must have had nightmares about Max Verstappen because, he kept coming and coming and coming. Then they had the drop out with the race in Vegas where they both were disqualified for the skid plate. He lost 25 points there. It was pressure all the way to the end, and he dealt with it this evening brilliantly, and he can now relax. You asked me what it would be like. Well, Harry, what he's feeling, and I think it's overwhelming relief, and now he's feeling gratitude and pride in himself. He's been in the pen now for nearly an hour talking to all the journalists around the world, so he wants to get it all off his chest. He's allowed to now.
We're sitting in the paddock. We're just looking at the media pen where Lando Norris has finally just left and headed to the press conference. We've got music blaring out in the Yas Marina, people still hanging around to try and get a photo of our new F1 world champion. Harry, you and I were just standing in the corridor as he was being congratulated by friends. Someone lifted him so high up in the air, I thought he might never come back down again. But isn't it great to see Lando Norris in this kind of way? Because I think he's kept a lid on his emotions, especially coming into this weekend. It feels like he has let out a physical sigh, like his body is now released. No more stress.
No, he's done it. He is now and forever will be a Formula One world champion. He joins that exclusive club, only 11th British driver to do it as well. And look, let's take this back and sort of chart it throughout, not even just this season, but over the last couple of years. So much has been said about Lando Norris and his mentality, and we've scrutinised it and how he goes about his racecraft on track too. Has he got what it takes to go wheel to wheel with the likes of Max Verstappen, who knows how to drive in the grey areas? And he's proven that in 2025. It didn't have the best start in the world. It was fine. They had the best car. He was going well, but it was his teammate, Oscar Piastri, who was putting him in the shade. But Lando Norris has turned that around. And when others have fallen by the wayside, he has delivered. He stepped up to the plate. And you know what makes this even better? He's been with that team for 7 years as a racing driver. He was with them for 2 years prior to that as a development driver. He was signed to their McLaren development driver program, then finished runner-up in Formula 2, then gets the opportunity to be the reserve driver. I still remember, I think it might have been Belgium, where he's bringing a cup of tea to Fernando Alonso, the then McLaren driver, and stirring it.
I've got a picture in Austin that I took of him making the coffees as like the coffee boy, and I was like, gosh, your time will come.
He was. We've all been the tea boy, Rosanna, let's not forget. But he was the tea boy, and there was even times where he would stick a high-vis vest on and start helping the mechanics dismantle that McLaren. He's grown with this team, and they've grown with him. This was a team in the doldrums just a few years ago. Their rise is incredible, and Lando Norris has shown faith in them and stuck with them through the hard times. And it's come good, and that's what is really rewarding about seeing Norris step up and win the ultimate prize.
I think when McLaren took the constructors last year and it seemed like they would go on and be strong in 2025, Lando even said it himself, next year will be my year. And you kind of felt, yes, this is his year. But then Oscar Piastri suddenly came into the picture, Damon, as a driver who sort of thinks, hang on, I'm the de facto number one here. To have a young whippersnapper, both of them, so young, I'll just caveat that with, to suddenly be outperforming you, so difficult. How deep did Lando Norris have to dig, do you think, this year?
Yeah, very deep. I think he had to, as you say, he was very much the incumbent. That was his home. He was adopted by McLaren. That round had showed him off to me and the world when he signed him back in, I can't remember what year it was 18 or something like that. And he was tiny. He looked like a schoolboy. You know, it was ridiculous. And I literally said to him, are you going to be big enough to drive one of these things? You know, eventually. And of course, he's filled out a bit now, and he's had to find in himself the extra gear, the extra level, because he was put in the shade by this new arrival in Oscar Piastri. And at those moments, you have doubt. And doubt is a killer, you know, in our sport. You cannot have doubts. But he is, he's got help. He's got the right people around him. But I think also he had to do that himself. He had to look himself in the mirror and go, okay, what are you going to do now to find more? Because you're going to need it. This guy's good. Oscar is very good, and he's going to cause trouble. So he did respond, and because he responded, he's now a world champion.
And I think he's found it difficult to read Oscar Piastri. He's such a cool, calm, collected character, Piastri is, that he said in Vegas just a few weeks ago, you know, I find it hard to know what mood he's in. So there's been a lot to get his head around, I think, for Lando Norris. But he is now the 2025 Formula One world champion. No one can take that away from him. He's been talking to Steve Crossman in the media pen.
Lando, just allow me to be the 500th person to say this in the last hour. Lando Norris, world champion.
You got no camera, so you can't see my face. It's incredible. It really is incredible. It's hard I don't know what I'm meant to say, like on a lot of this. I really don't. It's just such an incredible feeling because, a lot of people don't know what goes on in the background, what it takes. A lot of people do, but a lot don't. And I think when I know how much hard work's gone into it, how much everyone around me has pushed me, has kicked me to kind of get the best out of me at times, because they believed I could do it more than I myself, and they were the ones who believed in me the most, and they made me perform at the level I needed to do, and I couldn't thank everyone else enough from my team to support me like that. But yeah, to finally say those few words, I'm the world champion. It's the first time I said like that, but to say it, this is, you never know when you're going to achieve that. Like, it always feels so distant, it feels years away. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we've done it. And I'm proud of my team, McLaren, John, everyone. The good stuff. And
you feel like you've won an Oscar or something, do you know what I mean? I'm crazy happy for everyone, and of course for myself, and for everyone else even more so. So I just met your mum. She's cool, isn't she?
She's probably still crying somewhere.
Have you managed to find her yet?
I saw my mum. That was the first person I went to when I got out of the car. Was my mum and my dad. They made me cry a little bit more. This is their championship. This is my parents winning it just as much as it's me, my team, everyone around me. They were the ones who let me live this dream that I had when I was a kid. My dad was the one who took me to all the karting tracks when I was younger. He's the one who allowed me to pursue our dream. And we've been through a lot together. And he's helped me every step of the way. My whole family has. My brother, my sisters are here. And this is for them. I don't see any of them that much. But deep down, I know how much they're always supporting me, how much they're always trying to get the best out of me, look after me. So when I cross the line and I kind of get to think of all of those things that they've done for me, then it makes me pretty happy.
I bet it does. I wouldn't take too much of your time. I can imagine it must be so difficult, because we had Damon Hill with us, and he said, when you become world champion, it's like you open a box and it all spills out. Is that what it's been like?
It really was, because I don't get emotional. I get disappointed, I get angry, I get happy, all those things. I don't get truly emotional in a teary-eyed way. Very rarely. But today I did, because so much goes into it. And not many people in the world ever get to say they've achieved something like what I've been able to achieve today. And the fact I get to do that for everyone else, my engineers, This is their dream. My mechanics, this is their dream. They can all say that they're constructors and drivers champions, and that's the thing that almost makes me the happiest, honestly.
Okay, last one then. Your mum said that over Christmas she thinks she'll only get to see you for 3 days. Any leeway on that? Can we get to 4, do you think?
I will see. I should tell that to F1, they're the ones that make us start work a lot earlier next year. So if I had a longer holiday, I would. But Formula One's relentless. Like by the time you stop, we get to the Christmas time, I put on a bit of weight and I got to lose it again, and I got us to get back in the gym and get training for another year, because you need every bit of advantage, everything you can possibly get, and that starts already now, or January the 1st, in a way. So I'll see my mum. I'll give her a big hug, and that's the most important thing.
Thank you, Lando, and well done.
Thank you very much.
That's Lando Norris, your newest F1 world champion. Can't believe I'm saying it out loud. There were so many permutations going into this race weekend. Would it be Norris? Would it be Verstappen? Would it be Piastri? And now we know it is Lando Norris. Harry, he talked about self-belief in that interview with Crossy, and it felt like perhaps he needed his team more than ever this year, because he started to doubt himself. As Damon's alluded to, so dangerous when you get into that territory, and so difficult to pull yourself out of that mindset.
Well, we've all been there, haven't we? Regardless if you're a Formula One driver or not. The minute those moments of self-doubt creep in, it can start to spiral, especially when you're working in such a ferocious sport and you've got a teammate who has leveled up year on year. Let's not forget that Piastri has leveled up year on year here. So to see Lando Norris have to fend that challenge off right from the start of the year has been something that I'm sure has taken a toll, whether he's shown it to us fully or not. I think he's had to really think about the team around him throughout the course of this year. I think he's had to realise what works for him and what doesn't. But, the first few races of the year, do you remember that mistake in China where he wasn't quite happy with the car? Japan, where Max Verstappen got the better of both McLarens, and time again he was behind Oscar Piastri. I don't think it was really until Monaco maybe where he suddenly had this incredible run and got that incredible victory after securing pole position, because you can't overtake in Monaco. Brilliant win in Silverstone, which luck went his way a bit because that controversial penalty with Oscar Piastri. And then I think that the tide started to turn for Norris, and you went to Budapest, and that controversial but alternative strategy after his poor start saw him take victory. Then you had Monza. He was categorically ahead of Piastri, and the pit stop mistake went away from him. He kept his cool. Piastri played the team game, and that is then where I think we saw things turn for Lando Norris, starting to slot perfectly into place. Piastri's form started to unravel, and then Norris was able to capitalise time and time again.
We know now that Lando Norris has changed some of the people within his team, or brought some people into his team to help him with his mindset and his mental health and his approach to racing. Damon, we saw this evening his mum and his dad, Siska and Adam, there to celebrate with him, a hug for his mum, a very emotional time for his family. What does it take, the family? You know what you give up. Your family obviously give up a lot as well. It's a big moment, not just for Lando, but for his family too.
Yes, because I think they feel, talking to his mum, Siska, he has been away a lot, doing this thing, going karting and spending time testing, and, it's a full-on job being a Formula One driver, or trying to get to Formula One. And that's what he's done. He's put in the graft, he's put in the hard work, but there has been a cost, and you do worry sometimes about the pressure we put young sports people under. You see it quite a lot with tennis and so forth, sports where you have to start very early, and there is a sacrifice that is made, and it's in terms of relationships, in terms of normal life, and Lando has had to give up those things. Obviously he gets the rewards now, but then you can't replace the time that you might have had doing other things. But he chose this, and I think he was very motivated himself to want to do this, and he got all the input he needed and expert advice. Really, his dad backed him all the way for this, but provided he was 100% professional. And incredible really that he's tolerated that kind of pressure, because if it has to come from you, but every now and then the people around you will be saying, come on, you need to do more. and he's delivered for them. He's paid back that investment.
I also wonder where this will propel him to as well. We've seen those moments where he's lacked confidence. We've seen the strain that it's taken on him and his wider network. So maybe Damon can answer this. Becoming a world champion as well as a weight off, does it suddenly unlock a whole new level? And we'll see an unstoppable Lando Norris next year.
It's going to help a lot. I mean, that is the point, is that he'll walk into the fact, he'll go back to McLaren, and they will, honestly, it's going to be amazing for them, isn't it? They've won the Constructors, they've got the Drivers' Championship, and it's been a great season for them. They've got 2 drivers there who could deliver for them. No doubt that Oscar has got what it takes to be a world champion. They do need to know what's going to happen next year with the car. We don't know, but so far that team is lifted up, and he will be riding high for a good few weeks from now. But then, as you said earlier, it's very quickly back into thinking about next year. And they're competitors. They do this because they want to race. They don't want to rest on their laurels.
And I think that's, even though Lando Norris said, I've only got 3 days off at Christmas, he'll be raring to get back in a car. They always are. They always say those breaks are actually too long in the end, don't they?
I think it's 91 days till Melbourne, I think. So just to put that into perspective as well. So it's going to be, it's not going to be a very short winter, I think, and it's going to be a busy one anyway.
Do you know what I really loved, and this sounds very perverse, but I loved seeing Lando cry, because in Thursday's press conference, you got the feeling that it wouldn't change his life. Yeah. He's almost said as such. And he said, in 50 years' time, 30 years' time, whatever, I probably won't even remember this. It won't change my life. And I remember Max Verstappen saying that in 2021. And I am pretty certain it has changed his life by a margin. So it's lovely to see Lando really expressing his emotion. And, he's such a huge advocate for mental health. To actually see him emotional on the world stage, I think that's hugely important.
Well, now we know for sure that's a coping mechanism, isn't it? And they didn't want to let things spill over. They've done such a great job, McLaren, at installing this, fairness first philosophy, respect between the drivers. Nothing comes above Team McLaren. Nothing comes above McLaren Racing, and that has come to fruition. And you've got 2 really sensible drivers that have been fighting for a title. They haven't fallen out over it. There's no toxicity. They'll get back on the horse next year and go again. And that's what we've seen build up throughout the whole year. We saw it on Thursday, keeping fairly level-headed, but when the moment comes and it arrives, it does have an effect. And we saw, I remember just watching him on the podium, the amount of sort of fist bumps he was doing in the air. He was properly owning the moment, and that's what you want to see from your world champion.
Damon, there's been so much made of these papaya rules. I know that's not the exact expression that McLaren used, but they're racing principles, how they go racing. They're giving equal opportunity and fairness to both their drivers. As a driver who has been there and done that and had different teammates and worked with different teams, did you question their approach at any point this year?
Well, I was in a similar situation in 95 when we had 2 drivers fighting Michael Schumacher. It was me and David Coulthard fighting Michael Schumacher for the World Championship. And I did have a bit of not a Barney, but I did have a disagreement with Frank over his approach, because I was actually leading the championship and I had a good chance. I just didn't need to have a teammate who was going to take points from me. And he insisted that they're a race team and they provide the car to the drivers and they sort it out themselves. The result was may the best man win. But that's all well and good, except when you're fighting for a Drivers' World Championship. But their focus was very much on the Constructors. They've always said that they were only interested in Constructors. But to me, it's always been blindingly obvious that the biggest cachet is the Drivers' Championship. I know that the points and the money and the divvying up of all the funds from Formula One is made by the Constructors, but let's be honest, we came here to see the Drivers' Championship resolved, and that's in a team. I think that's the thing that lifts up the team and gives the team kudos. The drivers, the names, if you look at McLaren, the names of the drivers: Niki Lauda, Prost, Senna,
Damon Hill.
No, not McLaren. But anyway, but yeah, it is the names that make the sport, and I could never understand his approach. I think McLaren this year will have to think about how they're going to race against Max, because if one team like Max is going to be out there putting the kind of arrowhead of the team's effort into one driver, then you can't be having points split and lost, because you'll be putting yourself back in the same situation.
Could we see a shift now with other teams adopting this approach? And I'm thinking of Mercedes next year. Maybe they look like the ones who might be the ones to beat, and George Russell you'd think would be the one who would be the de facto number one, but maybe Kimi Antonelli would have an equal opportunity now that Mercedes have seen how it can be done. But of course there is a man who lost out tonight to his teammate, and that is Oscar Piastri. Let's hear how he's feeling, having finished second but ultimately third in the driver's standings.
Listen, you gave it absolutely everything out there, didn't you? There was nothing left in the tank by the end.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that was the most I could do today. I think we didn't have the pace to beat Max today. Tried our best, but wasn't to be. So yeah, that's all I can ask for. And yeah, just proud of the season that we've had. Obviously, a lot of ups and downs along the way, but I think on the whole, just very, very happy.
Is pride still right up there with emotions? I mean, I know there'll be disappointment and frustration and that pain, but is pride up there in the list still?
Definitely. I think when you look back at the season I've had compared to my first 2 years in F1, I think this year's been leaps and bounds ahead of the first 2 seasons, which is really encouraging for the future. Obviously I wish that this year had a slightly different ending, but I think I can confidently say I gave it absolutely everything at every point this year, and left no stone unturned trying to find every bit of performance. So going to require the same mindset to come back and try and do it all again for many years to come, but pride is definitely up there.
Do you think this will make you a better driver?
I think so, yes. I think this season on the whole definitely has already. There's been plenty of things to do directly with driving, but plenty of things off the track that have made me stronger as a person. Maybe it didn't feel like it at times, but I think coming out the other side of some difficult moments and some struggles is a nice thing to have in your kind of armory, let's say. So it's going to be a matter of when those times come around, not if. And I feel like I've learned a lot of valuable lessons on how to deal with tough times.
And this sport takes a lot of sacrifice from when you are a small boy all the way up to now. Do you kind of think back at those things in a moment like this just to remind yourself how far you've come and how far you can still go?
I hadn't really thought of it, to be honest, no, but I think, definitely, I think it points through this season. It's been important to remind myself of how cool this opportunity is. There's hundreds of drivers in Formula One that never get the opportunity to go through a season like I've had, and, even though I didn't end up becoming champion, to have that opportunity and to take the experience and the learning from it is something that'll help me forever. So, it's been a really cool season and a fun one, in all honesty, and only makes me hungrier for the years to come.
Well said. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers, Oscar.
That was Oscar Piastri, your second place finisher here in Abu Dhabi, but ultimately unable to challenge for the championship in the end. And what a season he had, so strong. His third year, Harry. Last year we were berating him when he made a mistake and saying he should have been on top of things in his second year. And then this year it's all about, oh my goodness, how amazing he was in the title battle in just his third year. Amazing how all those little narratives switch and change in Formula One.
Yeah, I think Piastri will look back on this season and we'll look back on it with good eyes, because it's been a strong season for Piastri. Let's remember, I think last year we were all kind of critiquing his issues with tyre management during races and saying, if he is going to make his mark at this team and not be seen as a number 2 driver, he's really going to have to work on that and develop into next year. And he's absolutely done that. He's still got, though, a few things that need ironing out. This issue with low grip tracks that he just doesn't seem to be able to get on top of. He found his mojo in Qatar again, but the run before that was what lost him the title, essentially. That poor run of form, finishing off the podium, is not what he can afford to carry on doing next year when we go to the same tracks yet again. So he's got to get on top of that. So I fully expect him to get on top of that. And another level to be unlocked for Oscar Piastri, who'll only be then in his 4th Formula One season. And I think he's going to come back really fighting hard.
And hungrier than ever. Well, the third title contender this evening when we started the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix was Max Verstappen, the 4-time world champion. There was a huge question mark. Could he become a 5-time world champion? And again, ultimately, he could not. But he could win the race, and he did so. Harry, we talked about how he might have backed up the field, been strategic, but ultimately it was fairly straightforward for Max Verstappen today.
Yeah, I mean, I was a bit surprised that Verstappen didn't try any kind of tactics. It didn't seem like he really did go for the slowing down technique. Maybe it's because he saw what happened in 2016 when Hamilton tried to slow Rosberg down and it didn't really work. But I just thought Verstappen and Red Bull would try something, and ultimately nothing really materialised. I think what I'm going to take away, and maybe what Verstappen might take away from this, is that 104 points off the championship lead in the summer, 2 points away from a 5th world title come the final race of the season. That's one of the biggest comebacks we've seen in Formula One, and I think he'll take pride in that and where Red Bull have come from. Didn't have the car at the start of the year, brought it back to the end. They've got their ducks in a row, they've cleaned house, they've got new people in, and it could be a threatening Red Bull coming into next year.
So it's more about the turnaround than the title, perhaps, 2025 for Max Verstappen and Red Bull.
Yeah, I mean, on that point, he did say before he got out of the car, listen, we've done really well. He's very proud of the team. I'm not disappointed. We shouldn't be disappointed. But he is.
Yeah, exactly. He's a racing driver and he is Max Verstappen.
But it was big of him to say that. I think he knew that it was a tall order, but they did put up a fight. They did have a little surprise in Yuki Tsunoda. As Lando tried to pass him, but it all worked out well, and they tried everything they could, and we should be really impressed with Red Bull and Max Verstappen. They are formidable fighters and racers, and also race car designers, because that car is pretty good.
Yeah, they epitomise the never give up strategy, don't they? Well, let's hear from Max Verstappen, your race winner here in Abu Dhabi, but the P2 man when it came to the driver's title.
You came running over to your team after the race, bigger smile on your face. You said as long as you gave it everything today, you'd be happy with the season, and here you are. You could not have done any more, right?
Yeah, I mean, we had a fantastic weekend again. We did what we had to do, and then we, of course, always relied on a bit of luck, which didn't happen now today. But we can still be super proud of this. I mean, it's been an incredible turnaround. And again, it's also lessons for next year and the years after, that even when it looks or you think that you're out, never give up and always keep fighting.
I mean, when you've won as much as you have, do you still learn things? Like, have you got a big learning from this season, even having not quite got there?
I think you will always learn until the day that you stop.
Yeah.
I mean, that's at least what I hope. I mean, F1 is such a difficult and technical sport that even when you think that you know it all, there's always going to be a race or a moment in the year where it will teach you that you don't know it all, or the eventual outcome of a season, like I think it did this year. It just shows, that there are always things that you learn.
Yeah. Just ask you for a quick word on Lando. There'll be a lot of respect between world champions, between all the drivers, of course, but you know what I mean.
This is what all the drivers dream of. I mean, this is something that you work for when you were a little kid, and your first one is so emotional always. And I really hope he enjoys it also tonight with his family that is here, and of course the team, because I mean they've worked super hard to overcome their own difficulties over the last few years, and they've been having an incredible season, of course. So yeah, I hope they enjoy it tonight.
Good man, Max. Thank you very much.
That was Max Verstappen. He was your race winner here in Abu Dhabi, winning the final race of the season, but unable to challenge Lando Norris for the title in the end, finishing P2 in the driver's standings. Well, guys, what a season. What a race weekend as well to finish it off. We've had highs, we've had lows. The drivers have had to deal with so many different challenges, and I don't think we really knew coming into this weekend what to expect. Have you been entertained?
Well, I'm knackered, Damon. I don't know about you.
Can you say knackered on the BBC? Too late, Harry. You've done it. And me. But anyway, yes, we're very tired. Everyone's very tired and emotional. But we've had a lovely season. What a great season it's been. And I'm loving it. I think these young drivers are brilliant. And the teams are so professional now. And they put on a great show. So well done. I want to go home now.
Is that cue for can we wrap this pod up, please, now?
Well, I'm just hearing a sound of like ripping up sounds because, of course, everything gets ripped up at the end of this season, and we go again in 2026 with a totally different set of rules and regulations. When you've had a world title that's gone down to the wire like this is the time we wish we were continuing with these rules and regs. But can we expect even better things in 2026 with that uncertainty?
I would normally agree with you, and I have peddled that line, but I actually am really looking forward to 2026. It's such a dramatic change on both the chassis and the engine front. We've got new drivers, we've got new teams. I think 2026, regardless of maybe there's one team that has a massive step in performance, I think as a baseline for the next generation of Formula One, Damon, I think it's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, and also, I know we're trying to wrap it up, so if we get not too careful, we're going to be talking about 26 now, but I'd be glad to see the back of these cars. I don't like them. I don't think the drivers like them. I think they're too big, too heavy, lots of problems. So, bye-bye, ground effect cars, or I should say Venturi effect cars, and looking forward to 26 to see what they come up with.
Well, we've got a short winter break before then. We'll have our season review coming soon on BBC Sound, so keep an eye out for that. The team will be giving their verdict on the 2025 season once we've all had a chance to pause and reflect and take a breath after this incredible season finale here in Abu Dhabi. The paddock is quietening down just a little. The world's media have now left the media pen, but I think the celebrations are going to continue well into the night, and I think there may well be a rather hungover Lando Norris come Monday morning. Harry Benjamin saying, and me. Well, cheers all round. Thank you so much for listening to us this evening. We will be back, as I say, with the season review. But from all of us here in Abu Dhabi, have a wonderful winter break. This has been an IMG production for BBC Radio 5 Live.